Okay, we're learning the Sikha in Chelik Lamed Zayin, Sikha on B'chukaisai. We're on page 81, Siv Gimel. So the Rebbe is discussing why do we find in Torah. We need a copy for Rabbi Yafi. Lamed Zayin. Why do we find in Torah that it puts such a big emphasis on the Schar Gashmi regarding Zman Hazeh, Chayset Elechu V'Nesati Geshmechem B'itam? And especially the question is difficult regarding Lasad Lavai. In Chazal and in Psukim you see that the Torah is speaking about all the great Gashmi's things that will happen Lasad Lavai. That's the focus, that's the vart, that's the point Lasad Lavai. How could it be? Okay, so the answer that Rebbe suggested in Sif Beis is that Anachanami, for those that are on a level that appreciate what Torah mitzvah is, Lishma, and for those that are on a level that appreciate what Mashiach is, as soon as Mashiach comes, they don't need all of this. But because Torah l'roiv tedaber, and most people do not appreciate it for what it is, Lishma, and even when you get to the Gula, the Rebbe here said that the first kufa, as soon as Mashiach comes, people will be very excited that Mashiach is here. Does that mean that all of a sudden everybody's going to become spiritual and holy, and the only thing that we'll care about is to do another mitzvah, another mitzvah, another mitzvah? No, lav dafka. Most of the people, even then, will need to know about the schar. That's why the Torah and Chazal put such a big emphasis on the schar. That's the answer that Rebbe gave. Okay. When Sif Gimel, the Rebbe will explain that this is a deichik. Avol l'chayre beer zek tzas dochaku. This beer is somewhat of a deichik. It's tzas, the Rebbe says. Tzas dochaku. Sharei parshas b'chukaisai v'chein kol ha-parshas b'teira sheben is parsha of tochal schara mitzvahs. Where the Torah promises all the rewards for mitzvahs, nemru l'chol Yisrael. The Torah writes this for every single yid. Gam le'elu shem b'dargen nailis v'avedis Hashem. Including those, we're missing copies, I don't know. Including those that are on a high darga of Avedis Hashem. According to what it says here, it comes out sheparshazu ena sheyeches leilu shesh lamasaga b'schar ruchni. You have a psukim in Torah that does not relate to this segment of Klal Yisrael. Torah is not speaking to them. Definitely, the Torah is not speaking to those that their entire Avodah, they're serving the Eibishter for the sake of the mitzvah itself, not seeking any reward. Who's the Torah speaking to? A person that is interested in Gashmias. So the Rebbe doesn't want to accept such a thing. Could you say that there's a section in Torah that doesn't speak to people that have an interest only in Ruchnias? How are they supposed to read those psukim in Torah? They're supposed to read it and turn the page right there. It doesn't relate to them. That's the rule. The way Torah speaks is in relation to the majority. But nevertheless, it's still more logical to say that the Torah, that the message of the pasuk is related to everybody. Even if it's the answer that the Torah does speak to the majority, but nevertheless there has to be something that these psukim has a meaning for everybody else, even if that's not the simple pshat, but there has to be some meaning here for everyone. So the question is even more. What's the title of this pasuk? When one doesn't just learn, but one harav is toiling in learning Torah. He learns to keep Torah, to fulfill Torah. It's not speaking to a person that's on a level of learning Torah on the basic level of learning. A person that's ready to work hard to learn and to work hard to fight in order to fulfill a mitzvah. Why? So the Pashtus was speaking about someone that values a mitzvah for what it is. That's why he's doing the mitzvah. Who are we speaking about? Someone that doesn't care about the mitzvah. Elamai, you promised him the schar, so therefore now he's going to work hard. He's going to harav on the mitzvah because of the schar. The pashtus is not what we're speaking about. It's speaking about someone that doesn't care about the schar. The Torah is negeya to him so much. That's why he harav. That's what brings a person to harav on something. When the inyan is negeya. So if that's the case, we're not talking about a person that's on a simple level here. Even more so, it says in Sfarim, this is the Alter Rebbe, look at the Torah, and in other places, Bepirish B'chukaisai. What does B'chukaisai mean? Al derech haremes. Shuhu meloshen chakika. It's someone that learns Torah on a level of chakika where the Torah and him become one entity mamish. I know, Shalim that Torah v'kiyam ha-mitzvahs kan, lo yirak ba'if shel amal v'yigi stam. We're not speaking about just a plain level of haravanya, ala ba'if shel chakika. That the person is working so hard in his learning and he's connecting to what he's learning to the point that a mamish becomes a chelik of him. What's the mila when you engrave over writing? The point here is not only that it's more unified than when it's written in maklaf shalav nichtav, and then the parchment that when you write something is written on. El she'ein kan mitzias mulvad ha'evan shebechakuksaisias. It's not an achtos of two entities b'chlal. It's one entity mamish. When a person learns Torah b'ayfin kazed, Alter Rebbe Tanya speaks about the yichud nifla. It becomes literally who you are. It's not two things. In the achtos of writing, there's also a very powerful achtos. It's very hard to remove ink from a parchment. But by Chakike, it's not two entities that are becoming one. It's Minei Ubei. It's one thing mamish. What this means is that Torah nir maskan. Huleirak ba'ifin sha'adam im ha-Torah hem k'mei shnei dvarim ha-mechubarim yachad. It's not two entities that become unified as one. Elo eitzais sha'adam einay mitzias. The person does not exist here at all. What's the person? The Torah. What does this mean? A person learns Torah b'ayfin kazeh that he looks at himself and says, I am a person with a personality, with opinions, with a life. And then there's the Torah. And there's the world of Torah, the ideas of Torah. That's a different world. Two different entities. Elamai, I work hard in understanding and coming and seeing the opinion of Torah. I should be able to appreciate what Torah says. So what happened over here? The person has his own opinions. Elamai, he works hard and trying to bring the opinion of Torah that he could explain it, that he could rationalize it, he could understand it. Of before, er is a mensch, and he has his life, he has his mitzias, and the Torah is another mitzias. When a person learns Torah to the degree that he and Torah become one entity, what it means is he realizes, who am I lechatchila? What am I all about? Why did the Eibush give me a hand? Because he wants there to be a mitzvah of anochas tefillin. In order for that mitzvah to be done, definitely push that hand. You have to have a place where to put it. So it's not that I have a hand and now I have a choice. I can either use it to play baseball or I have it to put on tefillin. So now, Be'etzim, I'm a person that the hand is a hand. It can be used for whatever. Elamai b'poyel, now I dedicate it to the mitzvah. Even when it's dedicated to the mitzvah, but it's fart. Your hergish is that it's fart my hand. But then there's something else. When a person comes to the conclusion that the hand is a heichetimtze, it's there because the Eibusher wants its film to be laid on the arm. That's it. It's the same thing with seichel. Why does a person have seichel? So he can think and come up with dredelach, bitzamach and nachad dredel. The seichel lechatchila is there so that your connection to Elokus shouldn't just be external in action, but it should be even deep. It should be internal. It should be something you can grasp and understand. So the Eibusher gives you seichel so that you can bring Torah into another element of existence of the world. So the seichel is in you for itself. It's a chatchila, just another keli for fulfilling what the Eibusher wants. So when you come to that point, it's one mitzias mamish. Then there's no two things here, b'chlal. That's the chakika of learning Torah. We're talking about a very high level of learning, a very high level of connection. So move on. She'etzel adam kazeh. A person that's on this level, shalimud at Torah ba'ifin shechakike, gam hamitzvah shemekayim ba'ifin kazeh. So he learns Torah on this level of chakike. does mitzvahs in the Seifin of Chakika. Shechayder is b'chol mitzvah. That's who the person is. So you come to such a person, and you tell him, I'll give you a schar if you learn Torah. You're embarrassing him. You're offending him. This is who he is. You come and tell a human being, if you'll behave like a human and not like a behemoth, I'll give you a schar. Well, in other words, you consider me to be a behemoth. I need an incentive to get dressed when I walk out in the street. If I'm not going to walk out like an animal that doesn't have to get dressed, no, you'll get dressed. I'll get an incentive. I'll give you a schar. It's an embarrassment. We're talking here about a person that identifies with Torah to the extent of Zeh Hu Zeh. This is who he is. So where does the schar come in over here? So Mikolza, move on. So what do we understand from this? We're talking here about a very high level. Nothing else has any significance at all. Definitely a reward, promising a person for materialistic things. So how could it be that a person on such a level, what's going to happen as a result? Yikabel schar gashmi, he's being promised. Gashmi is the schar, or schar v'nesati geshmechem beitim goyme b'chol hayudim gashmi v'nyonim gufni im chulu. Gashmi is the schar that relates to the well-being of his physical body. How do all of these things matter? How does it? It doesn't relate to the mitzvahs of the person. What's the shaila? Okay. No, should we start the answer? Let's start the paragraph 2 with the question. So the answer, the point there is as follows. Torah is the life of a person. Life. The Rebbe here is, as you see, highlighting the word life. So, Pirusha, what this means is, Leirak, you may think, this is maybe the simple pshat, that Pshat Torah mevia chayim la'adam b'olam haba. So when a person learns Torah, so that gives you good life. That you're zeiche to have good life, whether in this world, whether in Gan Eden, Olam haba. So it's not describing Torah itself, that Torah is life. It's saying that Torah brings you life. But that's not the pshat. Ella rather, well, that's also true. The Rebbe says loirak. When a person learns Torah, he'll have life in every aspect and in every place and on every level. But that doesn't mean just that. Ella shehi hachayim shekol echad v'echad miYisrael. Torah, being who a yid is, what does it mean? It's the life of a yid. It's not an added thing to his existence. One of the details about a person's life, Torah is the true existence of who a person is. In Order 28, the Rebbe brings the famous Gemara, the mashal of the fish, Ma Dogim Shebeyam. All right, the famous story there in the Gemara where the fox was standing on the riverbank and was telling the fish to come out and I'll take care of them. And the Gemara there says, This is the fox that's the clever one amongst the animals. When the fish are out of the water, they die immediately. A yid without Torah is not alive. What does that mean? Not that he's missing a certain detail about a certain feature or a certain quality of life, a certain luxury or a certain level of life, standard of life. None of that. Torah is life. By a yid, Torah, that is the definition of life. Without Torah, there is no life. The person is considered to be dead. There's no. What's the story of Nishkin Peire Shiyarin? Yeah. If you're living without Torah, it's Peire Shiyarin. It's not life. Yeah. Yeah. And then the harder before, the nusach that we say every night in davening. Okay, so that's the first point there. Torah is Leben. How do you define life? You can say Torah, it says about Torah many things. It says about Torah Torah is Lichtigkeit. Torah brings Lichtigkeit into the world. There's other expressions it says about Torah. Torah is compared to all kinds of things. Torah is compared to water. It's compared to bread. Torah, there's a lot of things it says about Torah. But here, we're focusing on this Nakuda that Torah is Chayim. It's life. And that's the definition of the life of a Yid. Now, what's the nature of life? In order to appreciate what it means that Torah is the life of a person, so let's look at what the concept of Chaim is. So, ha'adam, you look at the life of a person, nechlak l'kama chalokim. The body of a person is divided into different components. B'chlolos, generally, reish guf v'regel. There's the body, there's the head, that is, the guf, the torso, and the feet. Hareish hu makein mishkan k'chesav anaylim. The head is the higher faculties of the person, seichel, v'chulu, intellect, the senses of vision and hearing, gof, rest of most of the body. This is the place where the midas of the person's nefesh are, person's emotions. Then the feet. That's the lowest element of a person's life. So much so, you see the way a person walks, and you see the way an animal walks, other than the fact that an animal walks on 4 legs and a human being walks on 2 feet, and he can balance himself better than the animal. But the act of walking itself is, you don't see any depth or content and something sophisticated about the personality of a human being in the way he walks when you compare it to an animal. Right, so as you see here, the Rebbe is talking really about the different components of the person's nefesh, which has seichel, midis, and then maisa. That's the 3 categories that Rebbe is dividing it in. And those 3 levels of seichel, midis, and maisa are divided into different parts of the body of the person. Omnam kolzet. This division here, ubishayches, lekayches, protiyim shaladam. This is if you're looking at not the nefesh itself, not the essence of life. You're looking at different aspects or expressions or certain details of the life of the person. The essence of the fact that he's alive. That has nothing to do with any individual feature of the person. That essence of life does not relate to one level or another. If you want to define what's life itself, so ask a person, what's life itself? How do you define life itself? We actually don't even have any way how we could define it. The only way we define life is by the expression of life. A person that's a Baal Seichel will define for you that the life is someone that has a good svara, someone that says stupid things. He's silly. There's no life there. A person that is a jogger, will tell you that. So life consists of the fact that there's movement. When you see movement in the feet, and he knows that to move his feet very quickly. Oh, and damba state leben. Whenever we try to define life, there's always something specific that we have to relate it to. But the emes is life itself is not defined. You can't. We don't know. We have no way really to define what life itself is. How do you define life? Nicht leben von Fleisch, nicht leben von Seichel, nicht leben von Midis. It's none of that. The essence of life itself is not related to any of that, and that level of life is b'shaveh in the entire person. Miroishe v'adragloi. Chai betzim, right? Correct. And the Rebbe is mitzayin to the famous memorim in of Shinches that speak about this. Yeah. Okay, so here the Rebbe, built on this Nukudah, the Rebbe is going to develop this to explain the union of schar that the Torah speaks about. See you, Mr. Hashem, next week.
Greater than the sum of its parts.
Greater than?
Than the sum of its parts.
Greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah.
Meaning that Rabbi Weinberg once used the word gestaltness. That's greater than the sum of its parts.
That's the level of life that's beyond the details.
That's beyond description, like you can't describe.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
But then send me a text and you send it.